Ariel Helwani in New York City alongside UFC President Dana White. And Dana, good to see your hotel room. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Pleasure. I ruined us forever now.
We're out. It's over.
Exactly.
Well, it is good to see you here. You're here in New York City, obviously promoting UFC 133. What a frustrating card this has been to put together, right, with all the injuries. I want to ask you first about Rich Franklin. Why did you decide to take him off the card?
Well, it wasn't that we decided to take him off the card. We were looking at other opponents, and we had another opponent for Rich, but Rich didn't want to take that fight. He said, "You know what, man? I'm at a stage in my career where I only want to fight the top of the heap. I want to fight the top name guys." I don't blame him. You know me. When guys are, when we're looking to make a new fight, and we have people available and an opponent there, I expect that you should take that opponent, but I don't disagree with Rich's position on it.
Who was the opponent?
Was Gustafsson? Yeah.
Who's fighting Hamill?
Right.
He thought he was just a little too...
He's like, listen, man, I've been around forever. I've been a world champion. I'm switching the fight this soon. I want to fight one of the top guys. He wants to be back in position to take on some of the top competition in the UFC.
So when do you think he'll fight again? And there have been some rumors that he'll just fight Nogueira whenever Nogueira is healthy.
We don't know yet. Obviously, Rich isn't injured. He just came off a good camp. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things shake out and who will fight next.
Now, in terms of the main event last week, you covered it pretty well in terms of Machida, Anderson Silva money, getting Tito. What is your relationship like with Machida now? Have you been able to sort of settle your differences?
Well, I haven't talked to Machida. It's not like we got on the phone and said, "Why'd you say that?" and "Why are you mad?" And I think we both know where we stand. Obviously, I'm very disappointed in the way that he handled that. To come out and say that you deserve Anderson Silva money, and I want Anderson Silva type money. First of all, Anderson Silva's gone undefeated in the UFC since 2006. He's annihilated everybody in that division and moved up to light heavyweight and beat two guys there too. He's broke every record in the UFC. So for Machida to think that he's even on the same level as Anderson Silva is completely disrespectful to Anderson Silva. So do I hate Machida? Am I mad at him? No. I'm disappointed in the way that his camp handled that, saying before we started asking on Thursday because we knew Phil was going in for an MRI on Monday. Machida jumped right on it and took the fight, said they wanted it. And then when I called back on Monday when it was confirmed that Phil was out, that's when they hit me with, "We'll take Anderson Silva type money to do it."
When you look at the records, and I know the salaries are usually made available publicly by the commissions, but not the bonuses and whatnot.
Right.
What Anderson made at 126 and what Machida made at 129 is pretty similar. So what exactly is he talking about, Anderson Silva money?
Well, apparently he knows what Anderson Silva makes. And, well, if you look at the things that I say about Anderson Silva, I think not only do I think he's the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, I think he's the best fighter ever in mixed martial arts. And so what do you think he gets paid? He gets paid a load of money.
Oodles?
Oodles. Okay. To quote Bob Arum, oodles of money.
Now, in the main event, I remember on the Thursday before 132, you were saying another Tito drama was developing. What's your relationship like with him now? I mean, is Tito now, on your good side forever because he stepped up, or did you have to settle some things before getting him to take this fight? What's it like between you and Tito now?
No, not at all. Tito and I both have this relationship, and personalities that are always going to clash. And I'm totally impressed with Tito. I'm blown away that he went in and beat Ryan Bader the way that he did. Not just beat him, but beat him the way that he did. And I'm even more impressed that Tito stepped up and took this fight the way that he did. And I think right now, Tito probably has more fans and more people positive about Tito since like 2003. Okay. And does this mean that Tito and I aren't going to butt heads again and maybe sometime soon? Who knows? It's part of our relationship. It's just the way that it is. And the day that I showed up at that press conference, it was significant to me, obviously, that I was upset with him. And it's just all part of the game, man. It's part of the game. It's no different than the Machida thing. But the question you really are asking me is, did Tito come back and negotiate some new type of deal to take this fight with Rashad Evans? No, he did not.
You were just in Philadelphia yesterday. What's your sense on the buzz? You were there once for 101. That was a huge card with Anderson Silva and Forrest. BJ Penn was fighting Kenny Florian. What's your sense on the buzz in Philly just 2 weeks out?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, Philly's a great sports town and a big fight town, so it's. I like Philly. I had a blast over there.
Any idea what you'll do next with Phil Davis? Obviously, he wanted to fight. Very, very disappointed that he won't be fighting in his home state.
Yeah, first of all, he's out and he was fighting in his home state. Second of all, such a huge opportunity at this stage in his career to take on a Rashad Evans, who's the #1 ranked guy in the light heavyweight division. So he's bummed out, but he's a young guy. He's still up and coming. He's learning and has a great record. Phil Davis is going to do just fine.
So no plans for him yet.
Not yet.
Speaking of injuries, an interesting story has developed this week with Alistair Overeem. He says, and you said publicly that his toe was the reason why he couldn't fight on September 10th. He told us that it really wasn't his toe. He just said that he was originally told that he'll be fighting in October, and then someone changed the date, whether it's Showtime or Zuffa, and he doesn't have enough time. 7 weeks isn't enough for him to gather at camp. What's your take on the situation?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Showtime pick the date for September. They control the dates, and that's when they want to have it. And they told us he had to pull out of the tournament, just to clarify, because I've seen on Twitter where they're saying he was taken out of the tournament. Why the hell would we take Alistair Overeem out of the tournament? He said that he couldn't compete because he hurt his toe.
But so I guess he was telling us that he felt like he was being threatened in a sense, that if he doesn't take this fight, he'll be cut or he'll be taken off the tournament, and he felt disrespected. That's what he told us.
Well, I think you heard me say, yeah, he hurt his toe, cannot compete in the tournament, but is still under contract, with Strikeforce and will fight again.
Are you upset that he wasn't able to take this fight? It is 7 weeks away.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but what are you going to do? That's up to him and his camp. They decided to pull out of this fight. And, it has nothing to do with us. He was never strong-armed or bullied or disrespected in any way, shape, or form.
How involved are you in the day-to-day dealings of Strikeforce? Every time we ask you something about Strikeforce, you say, don't bother me with Strikeforce. That's a whole other mess. How involved are you in this?
How about not at all? Yeah.
So when something like this happens with Overeem, does someone tell you, or do you start to get involved with Showtime and the dates and all that stuff?
Well, here's what happened. It's funny because this is contrary to what many people believe, but these guys were negotiating with whomever. I honestly don't know who they were negotiating with in our organization. I would have.
Who's these guys? Overeem's guys.
Overeem's guys. Whether it's Scott Coker or Silva and his crew, I don't know who they were negotiating with. But I'm in Philly yesterday, and my phone starts blowing up, and the guys from Golden Glory call me, and they're like, "We want to negotiate this with you, Dana. We can get this deal done with you. So we want to see if we can get this Overeem deal done and get him fighting. But so we'll see what happens."
So some people think that this is his way of getting one step closer into the UFC, that he's sort of bypassing Strikeforce. Is that what they're trying to get at here?
No, I don't think anybody's trying to bypass Strikeforce. You can't. They know what the deal is. We have a contract with Showtime for Strikeforce, and these guys are fighting in Strikeforce. Just because the Nick Diaz thing happened, we were able to get that deal done. All the guys can't jump ship and just come to the UFC.
Have you heard his thoughts on wanting to fight Vladimir Klitschko? Did you hear about this?
No. I think it's a really, really bad idea, though.
Why?
Why? Because it's not what he does, and to be honest with you, not to disrespect him or whatever, you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the truth. His hands didn't look that good against Verdum. You think you're going to go out there and box the Klitschkos? I mean, first of all, these guys, the Klitschkos have been at the top of the heap for a very long time because they're good at what they do. They might be the cure to insomnia when they fight, but these guys can box, and that's not his world.
So when he says something like this, do you just chalk this up to him trying to negotiate through the press, or do you feel as though he never had a boxing match in his life? These guys have like over 59 fights, at least Vladimir does.
Ridiculous. Be crazy. It's when these guys talk about crossing over into boxing. It'd be like saying, let me tell you what, I'm a huge Manny Pacquiao fan. Huge Manny Pacquiao fan. I love Pacquiao. If Pacquiao came over into MMA, he'd get beat. Guys want to go over and box with Manny Pacquiao, they're going to get beat. Two totally different sports.
Speaking of Klitschko, you watched the Hay-Klitschko fight. You didn't seem very impressed with the presentation, the walkouts and whatnot. That was a big fight for HBO. again, you just chalk this up to another boxing match that doesn't live up to the hype, that doesn't deliver for the fans?
Yeah, I think so. But I think going into it, it's this weird thing with boxing, man. You know you're going in and you're watching a Klitschko fight. You know, it's not like you're thinking, "Oh God, this is going to be the most exciting heavyweight fight of all time." You know what's going to happen, but you still watch. You still go and watch. Me, I'm a fan. That was actually the same day as our last fight, and I had a TV set up in my back room so I could watch it. And I just sat there and went, "Ah, yeah,
And that's your boy, David.
yeah." I like David. I like him very much.
HBO president Ross Greenberg is out, and he is not a big fan of MMA. Could this be a chance for MMA to get on HBO? We don't know who the new president is, but what's your take on that situation?
Yeah, who knows? The new guy that would come in would be the president of sports, the guy's who's going to run sports. But I mean, basically, Ross Greenberg's job and position over there was really, he did other things in sports, but his main focus was boxing. And I think a big part of him leaving had to do with Arum and Pacquiao leaving HBO and going over to Showtime. And I think Ross has probably had it up to here with dealing with the boxing after all these years. I mean, these guys, listen, regardless of the he and I butting heads and not agreeing or anything else, I've always shown Ross his respect. When I first walked into his office to meet with him, the guy's done, all the big fights. He loves boxing. He's got boxing gloves running through his veins, and he did what he felt was right for the sport of boxing, and did the best that he felt he could. And I think he's burnt out on it, to be honest with you. I don't know that for a fact,
Right.
but it's my take.
Showtime has gained major ground on HBO. Like you said, they got Pacquiao, and MMA as well has helped them. Do you feel as though if you would have made that deal with HBO several years ago, things would have been different for HBO? You could have helped, keep them in that number one spot.
I would have never made that deal with HBO. I just would have never done it. It wasn't right. We had a deal. We had a deal done. We had a deal, and every bone in my body told me that deal wasn't right. So we pulled.
Have they contacted you since all this has gone down, or any time recently?
No, and you guys, I know we're all hardcore MMA fans, and we think differently than the rest of the world does. I don't think HBO is out there going, yeah, now that Ross is gone, we got to go after mixed martial arts. They're not thinking like that. It's not. I doubt it.
Well, you also mentioned on Twitter that you visited the WWE headquarters recently, and a lot of people got very excited about that. Why?
Well, I like Vince McMahon. Last time we met was probably 2 years ago. We had breakfast in Vegas, and I just wanted to bounce some stuff off him. I wanted to talk to him, so I called him up and asked him what he was doing and could I swing by, and he said yeah. Plus, I'd never been to their headquarters before, so that was pretty cool.
What do you think of it? Tiny Towers. It's a very impressive building.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very cool, and he's got a lot of cool history in there from the WWE and the XFL and things like that.
What do you think of, or what did you guys talk about, if you don't mind me asking?
I mind you asking. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Was it business or pleasure or personal?
It was both. We shot about business and about other things, what they're doing, what we're doing, and stuff like that.
That's it.
That's it.
UFC 133 goes down August 6th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Rashad Evans goes up against Tito Ortiz for the second time. Also, Yoshihiro Akiyama fighting on that card. A lot of big names on that card. It's gotten a little heat, but still a good card. August 6th in Philly, Wells Fargo Center. Thanks for the time, Dan. I appreciate the invite to your hotel room. If you don't mind, I'm going to stick around for a little bit.
But yeah, stick around.